Welcome to Chronic Curiosity, where we have real conversations with real people, from everything to anything, in attempts to facilitate dialogue with our fellow humans, and hopefully your curiosity as well as ours. If you can withstand the show, we ask, most importantly, that you tell your friends and family, but also you can pick up some merch or just donate to the show at chronic-curiosity.com in USD or Bitcoin. If you feel so obliged, you can give us a good rating and follow on whatever podcast platform you so choose. But please feel free to reach out to us on the website or the socials, which can also be found on the website, chronic-curiosity.com. And here we go.
With these fucking updates, because I never used to get
I wonder why it changed.
a verbal email confirmation. Like, it would come up on my screen, but it was never verbal.
It was never verbal or audible?
Oh, audible.
Okay, I was going to say, man, it's talking to you. That'd be weird.
You can cut that out. That's not going
I mean, you never know. It might be talking to you.
No.
There's I saw Tesla rolled out a new robot.
I did too.
You see that?
I didn't watch it, but all of my favorite people shared it.
All of your favorite people?
Mainly Lex.
Oh, the favorite person? Those look pretty cool.
Did you see Lex is looking for a couple of employees?
I did.
I'm not qualified for any.
Any of them.
But I definitely looked. There's like a
Zero.
virtual assistant. And I was like, I could be Lex's virtual assistant for sure.
Yeah. I don't qualify for any of them either. It would be a cool job though, for sure.
No, I'd probably lose my the appeal that he has for me, because I'd be like,
He'd probably get super boring and
fuck,
frustrating.
you're too damn smart. I can't even.
And he's too structured, I bet.
Yeah, probably.
And too dry.
No, I like that.
The dryness?
Yeah.
He does seem to have a sense of humor.
Because when he throws out his zingers, like, it's so funny. I've sent you a couple of like voice recordings.
Yeah.
Where it just like comes out of the middle of nowhere, and I have to like back it up 15 seconds.
I'm like, wait a minute, was that a joke?
Did that
he just make a
happen?
joke?
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, I like that.
That is fun. I'll give you that. That's what we're going to talk about.
I don't know.
You don't
I
know.
just thought that we should probably do one, because life's been busy and we needed to stay on some sort of schedule to keep it going.
Yeah. Oh, it's not. It doesn't feel like that to keep it going for me, but I agree.
No, but as soon as you let something become not a priority, it's easy to keep it not a priority.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying, but I don't think this would ever. I don't feel like it was not a priority in my mind, at least. But we took a little bit of time off this summer. It was a busy summer. I felt like everyone was, even just not normal people, just in general. I think it'd be a blanket statement in general that people have been busy again. Maybe that's what it is. It's that finally everyone's starting to realize that COVID's like, it's fine. We have to like move on. And I think that's coming from a general population, like everybody's doing that. So it's no longer like people, like half of the population is still like locked in their house. It's like most people are now like, okay, we survived. It's not as bad as what we thought it was, or we were told to believe that it was. We should probably go back to living life again.
Well, everybody's busy. Regardless.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
but then so that's just that
busy.
extra layer of everyone's not locked down anymore mentally, or so it's a lot. But I did see it's been 2 years now we've been doing this. Over 2 years. It was in September, I think, or very beginning of September. So I just didn't realize that.
When did I start with you guys?
Like running the stuff?
Yeah. When was that?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd have to...
Trying to think if I remember who the first... I could look. I was here for Sam. I was here for both Andrews. I bet if you scroll down, I could eventually figure it out.
Well, the easiest way would be to go on YouTube
Scroll down.
Again,
and look at
I think maybe
the camera view.
I think maybe others see us more.
I feel like that's cheating.
Basically. But what do you mean it's cheating? Oh, you're trying to figure it out by people?
Just by their names.
Just by their names?
Yeah.
You think you can?
Yeah.
I would say it had to be probably they're definitely around before that. Matt Shannon,
I was here
the
for
Bearded
both
Butchers,
Miles.
Miles, yeah. The Invisible Ships guys. Oh, I almost forgot it. I didn't forget about them, but that was a really
Yeah.
fun episode too, because I think they ended up into some legal
Yeah.
issues
Jacob
with
Dean
that.
was my first one, I think, because I did not participate in the Josh Kroll one, but I
no,
did
Kroll-
participate in the with Jacob Dean number 27.
Yeah, I wonder if Kroll was I feel like
Kroll was
Kroll might have been the
here.
first one that the camera was changed.
Maybe.
And then you started running it after I got the whole setup
Yeah,
changed.
so it would have been
In
March
February,
1st.
March.
Yep.
So it's over a year and a half.
Mm.
That was so shortly.
Look at your ponytail on that one.
Yeah.
Psst.
Yeah. So it was. Oh no! It was Tony and I did one with the
Well,
first
I was
setup.
ignoring that one because I was
Yeah.
trying to base it on guests.
Oh, I guess yeah. So number 26 was the Texas and Bitcoin discussion we had with the very first with our new camera setup.
Boom.
Which was February 22nd of 2021. Yeah, so over a year and a half ago.
Hmm.
It's been wild. What's your favorite? What was your favorite one? Or like at least the ones that popped to your top of your head.
Both Miles episodes always.
Miles is.
Just
I love
because
Miles.
because
He's
it's
just
so
fun.
funny.
It's so
He's
fun.
just like.
It's even more than fun.
Yeah.
It's more than funny. It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. And I think because you always had talked about his sense of humor, and so like.
You didn't know what to prepare for, then it
Yeah,
showed up, and
not
it was
that I
like
had like a caution, but it was like I didn't want to be let down that like you thought he was really funny and I wasn't gonna find him funny.
Right.
So there was almost that reservation.
I feel
of
that
like,
too, especially it's like
I don't
my
wanna
friend's
be
really
let
funny.
down.
It's like
Yeah.
that. Hey, have you heard this song? You've got to listen to this song. I'm gonna play it for you right now.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay.
You mean you've never watched this?
You've
movie?
never watched.
Speaking of Miles.
Yeah, exactly.
He was great. For some reason, Josh Schneider's always stands out. It was nothing specific, but I feel like he's just wise beyond his years.
Yes,
and his was
that's a good way to
really,
put
really
it.
good.
I feel like I'm talking to like my grandpa or something. I don't have any grandpas I've ever talked to, but I feel like
Yeah.
if
And
I
he just-
understood what having a grandpa was like, I'd be like, talk to my grandpa.
Yeah. I feel weird.
But
'cause
maybe
I
not quite
hate
as
to, like,
senile.
leave
He's real
some
sharp
of-
still.
Very sharp. Very sharp. I hate to like leave some out,
Yeah,
but
I don't know. Well, we were talking
'cause-
too. The one I just texted your brother Dustin and told him it's been
yes.
2 days from now. So basically, one day after this comes out, it'll be a year since he was on with Austin, and that was fun as well.
I still pull up the video of him spitting beer out.
blowing beer out of his nose. Yeah.
Yeah, I still have that saved.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's not a single one that I didn't pull something from. There's some that I'm like, this is boring. But that's
usually
usually
was
'cause,
when
like-
I was just going on a rant.
Yeah, probably. Or like, you guys get deep. Maybe not the entire thing is boring, but you know, deep dive into something that I'm like, I don't know.
Sometimes you have to
anything
deep
about
dive.
this. You do. But
You guys realize right around that time was when Rose first came on.
mhm.
That was always impactful. It's not hers.
I wasn't down here for that, but listening to it
Yeah, the first one was
was
number
intense.
24. It's
Yeah.
intense, but it was. You can't say I can't say it's fun, but like it was good. It was a very very good.
yeah.
Both of her episodes, just spending time with her is like good, but it's not like you got to be in the right headspace or it'll put you in a headspace to have those serious conversations. But yeah, we've had a lot of fun. Who's been on? Oh, Glenn and Gary.
That
They
one
were
was
good.
fun.
They were both
Mhm.
good on their. Well, Gary's been on a handful of times.
3 times.
Yeah, so they were both their individual episodes were really good, and then when they came on and just hung out, that was
Mhm.
a good time. They're good people.
The fuck is Olympically Hormonal? Number 44. What is that?
That was when we discussed all of the outrage because Olympics were going on. All the outrage about all the things that were happening surrounding the
I
Olympics.
see. That's
Yeah.
right.
I tried to find some good naming for some names for some of these to really make it pull all together, but yeah, it's been a learning experience for sure. I think that's the biggest thing is I've learned more in the past 2 years for sure than I ever have in my entire life, I think.
Mhm.
And a lot of it's been from these people like Jason Sheftel talking about geopolitics. I know not a lot of people find that super like enthralling, but I think for me, it's when you can consider what it all means and what it all entails and what's all happening all at once. Like it's a lot of those things are actual reality shows, like politics. Like sometimes if you can look at it through the right lens, it's like, oh, this actually is a reality show, and some of this is hilarious, but some of this is also very like frightening that these people are
Like
running
our strong
lives.
alliance with North Korea.
that would be a concern. Yep. Or the
But
fact that
it's strong.
that's
It's very strong.
that's what she said. I think she meant South Korea would be my
She said
guess.
North.
She did say North. She really stuck to it too. She didn't even like, yeah. Or I saw
North Korea, South Korea.
What's the difference,
Can you blame her?
right? I mean, it's the second part is the same, and the first parts are spelled kind of differently.
They're both directions.
And they're both directions, so that could be really confusing.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you're a politician, you know, and shouldn't be brushed up on politics of countries in those areas by any means.
I hate to defend her, but I feel like that's some shit I would do.
Yeah, but you're also not the vice president of the United States of America.
That is true.
And a lifelong politician that should understand geopolitics.
It was a debate.
It was a debate. She's honestly, I feel like she should just be on Saturday Night Live. She'd be successful, right? She just, and Kamala Harris as Kamala Harris. But she wouldn't even understand that she was making fun of herself. That's not a bad road. She might end up being there. Jen Psaki's on a news channel now, and she's even throwing shade at Biden.
Is she?
Mm-hmm. They don't give a fuck about it. It's all a game to them. But there is some entertainment in that when you can really, sometimes it's too frustrating that you gotta shut it off. But, and Sam, that was the most, surprisingly, not surprisingly interesting, because I didn't know him at all.
Yeah.
But if you were to tell people what the conversation like kind of surrounded a lot of it, and like in what he does, like because a lot of people look at like people from like what they do for a living, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
so he like just like he's a shit spreader, like that's what he does. Like, okay,
it's not. He doesn't run like a gossip column. Like legit shit.
Yeah, like yeah, oh yeah, like literally he runs a successful company that carries manure and manure transport and spreading and all those things. And it's like, but then you hear him talk about some of the stuff and not only
He's
about
a dad
that.
Remember he told us off air that he just found out he
right.
was going to be a dad. And
Yeah.
and that was August 30th of 2021. So I just talked to somebody. It was Liz and said that he was a dad.
Yeah, that's why I like about all these people. It's like we've realized that, you know, and I tell this, I finally found a good description or a good way to explain the show to people. Because they're like, oh, like, what do you, because before it was like, oh, you do a podcast. Like, what do you talk about? I'm like, well, I don't know. We just kind of have conversations. And like, people are just like, oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, what are you supposed to like, you don't get anything from that. Because we're not specific. We're not one thing. Like, yeah, we do have threads that we continue to talk about typically, but it's never a specific thing. It just is organic. So it's like, what are you supposed to tell people? And I realize now after this time is telling people, it's like, look, it's, a lot of the people we have on are from, our community, obviously, because we like to do this in person. It's just the whole feel of the show is there when we're sitting down across from another human being and like having an actual conversation. We've done some virtual ones, obviously, and we work them the best we can, but there's just something special about that. So, and obviously it's a lot easier to get people to stop in real quick than, trying to hook up with somebody online and like, I'll try to figure all that out with the audio and digital and all those things. But it's really struck me as like, well, we talk to, entrepreneurs, we talk to, business owners, and we talk to, members of the community and people that are, if they have a certain thing that they're trying to promote, then we try to promote that. But otherwise, we just sit down with people that are, in our somewhat local community. It's not just all over the place. But, and what we've learned from that is there's a lot of really awesome people right next door, no matter where you are, doing really awesome things. So it's like, that is maybe not necessarily what the show's about, but that's what you're going to get most of the time if you listen to it. And that's what's really neat, because it's never one thing or another. But
when there's that common thread where everyone says, well, because you don't have it, it's not structured when they come in, and you've done that by design. And like you said, unless there's something specific they want to talk about, but it's more often than not, it's, well, I don't have anything to talk about. Like, what are we gonna talk about? And because people think unless they have this big thing that's happened or they've accomplished this big thing, that they don't have a story, which is completely wrong.
right.
Because a half hour in, and we're usually blown away by something we had no idea that they either experienced or understood or went through. And to me, that's a lot more realistic. Like, I can pull from like inspiration or curiosity or just emotions or understanding from somebody that's a lot more like me than somebody who is, a celebrity or going through these big, massive things. Like, I'm not going through big, massive life changes.
Right.
Like, not to say that I haven't, but nothing massive. You know what I mean? So like, people are like, I don't really have a story. Well, you've lived 30 years.
There's got to be
There's
something.
definitely some
Yeah, there's a
things in
story.
there that's just so normal and normal every day to them. It's completely different. Like you mentioned Sam. Like, I don't know anything about him or what he does, but he brought a lot to the table, like for a discussion that was really, really interesting. And I don't know, I guess I can just align with people like that a lot more because that's how I think of myself, if that makes sense.
No, I think it makes sense. I guess I find it more. I've began to look at it and see it more fascinating because it's, well, now we're understanding that we are all different to some degree, but we all have so much shared, things that we, whether it be just in our normal lives or whatever, but even to a celebrity or something, or somebody that's going through, a lot of, or a big thing. Well, guess what? They still have all the other stuff that's just the same thing as everybody else is going through, in a sense, to that level. Like, so it's the experience of life in its whole, and being able to, for a short period of time, like, if you can, try to put yourself in their shoes, as the discussion's happening, and like think about, where they came from and what they're telling you, and like this backstory, and understanding all these things. It's like, oh, like, yeah, we look like we live, the same life in a sense, but we are so different, but we're so alike. And there's like so much to learn from, what you don't know.
Mhm.
And if it's something new, then well, you're gonna learn from it. So like, I don't know, I maybe it's just because I find learning fascinating, and it's like a drug where it's like, oh, like that's fun. Like,
Well, and I feel like it's seeing somebody live very similar, whether it's financially or locally or, with the same similar upbringing, living a certain way that you would like to live. It's a lot more, it now becomes a lot more achievable, right? Than seeing somebody who is in a much higher class.
right.
Well, that's obviously easier for them to accomplish. In my mind, it's easier for them to accomplish because they have X, Y, and Z
They can
readily
take their
available.
private jet to
Right.
to-
But then when you see people like, oh, we're in the same class and you're really fucking happy because of, these things that you've done or, that you share that you've went through, it just seems a lot more accessible.
right.
And they're like, yeah, there's, like you said, almost everybody is fairly local. And I don't know, just being able to hear what people have gone through and accomplished or have attempted and failed. Like, I'm here for the fail stories. Like,
Oh,
that's,
yeah, all of them.
yeah, like that's a lot more. I'm going to learn more from that because you learned a lot more from that than,
Yeah.
but like,
you spent a lot of time analyzing it.
yeah,
I'm sure.
Well, like the successes are great too because that's inspiring. I don't know. It's just, it
Yeah.
seems much more encouraging and obtainable and possible sitting down with people from like our
Right.
quote unquote community because
And it's that too. And I found it neat. I know there's been a handful of times where no, I'm not going to mention anything necessarily specific, but times where I think, oh, I don't know if this like person, like what they think of me, right? Because we're not so similar.
Mhm.
We're very different. And on the surface or whatever I might have in my head thinking like, and I don't like voice this to anybody. I think this is probably the first time I've ever said it. But like, and then oftentimes those are the people that I enjoy their time even more. And we like really have great conversations, and at least to me, and I leave from that even more like, this is awesome.
Mhm.
And because it's somebody that like, had it not been for this, or like in public, I'm like may never have ever crossed their path or, even talked to them, or even if we did cross paths, we might kind of, like you have that no matter what it is, like there's, it almost seems like sometimes we're like magnets walking through life, and except the opposite of a magnet where things, if it's a similar thing, it attracts, magnets, they're polars,
Mhm.
They connect to the opposite. And then if the polar opposite would be, the same, and they repel each other. So, but we often as like groups of people kind of collect with similarities, right? Like you said, like we're same
Mhm.
kind of social, similarities and financial, like all those things, because that's where it's comfortable.
Mhm.
But then you realize you step outside of those one way or the other. And if you can like meet somebody with like an open mind and they're there to do the same thing, which is kind of the idea of this, then it's like you realize that, oh, why should we feel so different? We're not, we're both living lives regardless of, whether it's I have more or less money than you, or, um, my upbringing was different, or where I live now is different, or I look different, whatever. Like there's still so many more similarities throughout life than, those things we tend to kind of look and see at others, like that whole judging a book by its cover. That's when I've been probably the most blessed, is some of those where it's like,
Mhm.
I don't know how this is going to go because I don't know this person, and I don't really know their background or anything. It's like, well, hopefully they don't hate me, like, or get annoyed by some of the stupid shit that I say. But
Mm.
here, I mean, that's
Probably
that's probably the top
happens.
one. Yeah, probably.
But probably not any more annoyed than when Tony and I lock eyes.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, they don't get any more annoyed than Tony gets annoyed. He's just learned to deal with me.
I love it.
I can't remember. I saw something the other day. I don't even remember what it was, but someone was saying something ridiculous, and this person was just like scowling at them. And I was like, I feel like this is Tony.
No, you sent it to
I
us.
don't even remember what it was, but I was like,
it was a Rogan podcast. You sent us a timestamp. I never did watch it because you just sent it to us yesterday.
oh yeah, the Dave Smith one.
Is that what it was?
I think that's what it was. Yeah,
remember.
that was honestly that episode, the recent Rogan podcast with Dave Smith. There's probably like a half an hour of it, like you could probably skip in the middle. They talk about boxing, which is fine. It's cool. But the rest of the conversation was like, this is a conversation that people need to hear.
Who is Dave Smith?
Dave Smith is a comic, but he's also like a political commentator in a sense. And he's a big libertarian as well. Like he's kind of taken up arms, no pun intended, for like the Libertarian Party, kind of trying to revamp it in a sense and like get more people on board to it. Actually, I literally just put something on the story. It was a clip of Dave Smith talking, and in a different podcast where he was like just talking about something like he was really giving his libertarian pitch. And I've never heard him do that before, but he's really starting to like fall into that. And I think because it's like, look, you know, his beliefs on the political realm are like, look, we've established that there's a lot of people out there that aren't represented by Democratic or Republican, and everyone's bitching about it, but no one's really doing anything about it.
Mhm.
So I want to do something about it. So, you know, obviously I don't think at the same time, like I align with a lot of libertarian issues. You know, I've joked before about, I think I'm just a libertarian. Like I'm a
Mhm.
closet libertarian. I just don't know it. Now I know it, but I still don't want to like latch on to a name, you know, a party. Cause it just feels so gross now. Like,
Yeah.
especially seeing
And
how
then
people
you're
do
stuck
that.
in that box
Yeah.
of, but I mean, you wouldn't have to be. It's just it's how it's portrayed, right?
Oh yeah. Right.
When someone
Just,
says
you know,
they're a Democrat or they're a Republican, well, now you're stuck in that box. Even if they just maybe 80% align with one more than the other, but it's still like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's why I don't want to say it.
yeah,
Because it's like I would never say, oh, I'm a libertarian, I'm a Democrat, or I'm a Republican, because, well, as soon as you say that, then people automatically, the only thing you're giving them is everything that party actually stands for and what that party is promoting at the time. So like, just by saying that, you're no longer giving the other person an opportunity to understand what you believe and why. You're making them believe that that's okay. Well, if this person's bold enough to say I am this, well, then I have to assume that their beliefs fall in all these categories. You know, it's like, and that's almost as bad as like wearing a shirt with a curse word on it and you don't spell it out. Now you're making me say it in my head. That doesn't fucking change it. Like you're even more of a fucking asshole because you like, instead of just saying it, you made me go, okay, I have to say it. Like you didn't say it, but you're making me do it. Like, yeah, but I digress. But that's like, he has a really good conversation about, he followed COVID really closely and some of these things. And he's followed a lot of wars. He's very like, Libertarian Party is very like anti-war. Like that's kind of what anti-war, but anti like big government, like all these things, or yeah, anti-big government. I wanted to make sure I didn't put a double negative in there. So like the first hour or so they talked about COVID and, you know, just the facts of seeing all these different things of, you know, in hindsight, let's discuss the facts and let's discuss these things. But he's always been a big proponent and like writer on like wars and like even through like the Bush area. And he's very familiar with a lot of the conflicts that we've had throughout history. So he talks about the Ukraine issue and all these different things. And which reminds me, I just saw Biden the other day. I think I put this on my story too, where he was saying, like, he said, Mr. Putin, don't get it confused. You know, we will do whatever it takes to defend every inch of NATO ground.
Yeah, he
Like,
repeated it like 3 times.
Yeah, like, bro, do you understand? Like when folks, especially when the people in Russia, like some of their officials are talking about using nukes, like they're literally talking about it. Like, hey, we should, and they're talking about using, well, we should use like the small, basically like the small subset of nukes for like these strategical things. Like, bro, they're willing to use the small ones. Like, what? Fucking stop it. Like, what are you doing right now? Like, so crazy. But for what? I don't know. But they break that and the whole like COVID situation down quite really, really well. And the Ukraine one and the ties with the Ukraine, kind of like how I mentioned before and joked before, like it's kind of funny that we had a president impeached over a certain country because the candidate he was running against thought there was some dirty work there. And now that's the president. And now we're fighting a war that we're massively over anybody else in the entire world supplying them with money and weapons. Like, and we actually blocked their ability early on in the war to sign a peace treaty with Russia. Like, something's going on here, folks. So he like was able to, he like talks about a lot of those things, and it's like he does a very good job of really hashing out the entire situation and correcting himself when, like, if he makes a mistake or something like that, or being very good at questioning the entire thing from all the angles. So it's like, those are the type of things that I can appreciate. And
Yeah, if you're not willing to look at both sides and question things, at this point, I really don't really want to listen to what you have to say.
yeah,
Because the last 2 years has been such a shit show with that. Even just looking at the COVID bullshit. Like, if you're not willing to look at even the side you stand with quotes, I don't want to listen to anything you have to say, because you're not open enough to consider that what you stand with could be wrong.
right. There's no critical thinking,
Yeah.
like, going on there.
Yeah. Like, and or even somebody who claims to be open and willing, but still only just 100% one side. Like, I won't even waste time to have a conversation. Like,
well, it's hard. Like, you understand that because what's the point of engaging with them? Because there's no leeway in their mind one way or the other. So the only thing that is going to be gained from that situation is if they feel like they've swayed you.
mm-hmm.
That's it. Because there is no reversal. There's no way you could get them to consider anything else. Well, so it's like, why should I even talk to you? Which is a bummer. But like,
yeah, when it's sad, when maybe you are on that side of the marker, for this huge thing, you're on the same side as them, but you're just not that far at the end, right? But they think that you align with them because a lot of your thought processes or a lot of your convictions land on that side, or that's just where you've decided, this is what I believe, even if it's something that's highly debatable.
But if you believe it, you should be willing to debate it.
No, yeah, absolutely. So what I'm saying is even if it's something that is based on a belief system and not something that can be proven either way, right? So then you have to decide, well, what do I truly believe in? Well, now you're on their side. Well, now they think you're just as fucking crazy as they are. Yeah. And it's like...
Yeah, well, now you're actually pushing me away.
Now I wish I was, not so...
You're actually making me question my own beliefs now.
Yeah, because I don't want to align with...
a fucking crazy person.
Yeah. What were we watching where the lady... She was having an abortion argument or a discussion with that interviewer. But she did not come prepared.
Oh yeah, no.
She didn't come prepared. She was there for
She was there.
March?
She was there. I think protesting. I think, and this person came up to her with a camera and a microphone and like, "Hey, let's talk about this." And she was like,
clearly against it, and she was clearly for it, but she did not have any.
She was not prepared.
No.
To have that conversation, because anytime you like I think I mentioned to you, like, how dumb do you have to be to walk up to somebody with a camera that's asking you to basically prove why you're right and you think they're wrong without being prepared? Like, you have to know that person is more than likely, that person is really prepared to argue their side of this, like whatever it is. So maybe if you're not quite ready to argue somebody that is prepared, you probably shouldn't try.
Yeah, just well, he came up to her. I'll give him. Well,
Oh,
actually,
yeah.
you didn't really see which way, but usually
Either way, you could be
people
like,
at-
I appreciate that, but
Yeah.
I'm just here to support. Thank you for your
Yeah, I
time.
don't
No
wanna- I'm
thanks.
not gonna
It's
have
like the
this
people that
discussion
you
with
walk
you.
through the store and they're trying to sell you like a cell phone plan, or like, hey man, how you doing? I got some free cell phones. No thanks.
Yeah.
Because I know how this is
Yeah.
going to go. No, thank you. Like,
No,
thank you.
it was not great.
Yeah. So then it's like, that's part of the frustration I've talked about before too, where, people feel so strongly about something, and I've invited people like that on the show, and I'm like, well, hey, like, come on the show and talk about it. No. Oh, well, okay. But by the way, I think you're really doing yourself a disservice, because the way you're arguing about this thing is really making it look like an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't care. These people are stupid and wrong. Well, oh, so you are just an asshole. Like, you're not trying to like.
Who was it that was it? Somebody on the show? I want to say it was a female, and I can't remember who it was. We mentioned, or you and Tony, or I can't remember. When I say we, I mean, one of the three mentioned something about, well, yeah, I'd like to have them on to debate that. And they're like, oh, so you can prove them wrong. And we all were like, no, that's the exact opposite. Like, that's not at all.
I think it was Miles maybe that might have said that.
No, for some reason I was thinking it was a female. Like, that's not the intent at all. Like, there may be people that we want to I would privately have a discussion with to try to prove them wrong, but I would never
do that publicly.
That would never ever be what they came on the show for. If that ended up happening, like,
yeah, no, it's
okay,
all right. Well,
but that would never ever be the goal. Like, it's never to embarrass somebody.
No, absolutely not. It's all right. You feel very strongly about this. I would love to talk to you about this.
Yeah,
but we'll actually have a conversation about it.
But if neither one of us are willing to be open and share and humble ourselves about our thought process, then I can't have that conversation with you. Like, there's a lot of people that I would be interested in having the abortion discussion with. But based on what they're either sharing or posting, like, and part of me is like, okay, I would like to engage in that conversation, because sometimes you post something and it's only giving you one thought process. It's usually for or against and why, and anything else that goes with it.
But
so it very much puts them on which side, but it doesn't let you know how open they are to having a discussion. And I'm not super one way or the other. I mean, I definitely have a thought process, and I think you and I even disagree on it a little bit, especially to the degree that if I ever had to choose, but I would love to have discussions with people who are the opposite of me,
that are willing to have a discussion.
Yes, absolutely. And honestly, they're who are willing to have a discussion that is more than, well, this is what the Bible says. Because I can't get behind that, because not everybody believes that is true. So you can't use your religion as a way of why everybody should be doing something or not doing something, because you don't get that power that everybody has to believe that is true, that is the way. So, like,
but that's a tricky one when it comes to religions, because that a lot of religions are the understanding that this is the universal truth.
And I understand. And
so, and if you don't believe this universal truth, that is the true and only one true, then you are condemned in some regard. So, it's very easy to.
I understand that. I get that, and I don't disrespect that. Like, I have a lot of respect for people who
For sure. I can
And not
I can
just-
disrespect the
and not
person
just
if they're
the-
being a jerk
not just the
about it,
Christian
but- yeah.
religion.
Oh no,
you know,
there's plenty. Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. Yeah.
You know, so I want to have that same respect for anybody. But you also have to have the understanding that just because you believe that that's true and right, and you think that everybody else is wrong, well, why does yours get to be superior?
Yeah. And I mean, I can see why I think it'd be superior. But here's because I've thought a lot about this. It goes all the way back to that conversation that I bring up about the person making a bad argument. Well, if nothing else, it all boils down to, if nothing else, you should be really nice to people that don't believe that, or and take their conversations and all those things in, you know, to heart, and actually think about them, and come and even if all you're doing is trying to prove them wrong because they're a terrible person because they don't believe in this one truth. The best way to do what you should be doing, if you're arguing against it, is to find the best way to convince this person that they're wrong, and they need to believe what you believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen a whole lot of that done by being an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
And by calling, you know, name calling or any like being in people's faces or any of those things. It's all right. Well, why don't you believe this? Well, let's follow that road. Let's follow your thought path all the way down, and I will give you my best, you know, arguments and points along the way to try to pull you to my side.
Fuck, we do that all the time.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I mean. That's the whole idea, right? Because we care about each other, and it's look, okay, maybe if I disagree with you, well, this is why I believe this, and this is why I think you should believe this.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to.
Maybe one of us isn't bringing our true thoughts or beliefs across appropriately, right? So then we really have to dive into this is what I said, but this is what I mean, right? And so it's a lot, and I have to do that with Kai a lot too.
Oh yeah,
that, you know, she says something, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then we dive into, oh, well, maybe she used the wrong wording, or maybe she said it correctly, and I think that is bogus.
Right.
But, you know, we do that all the time. And I was just talking to your sister about this the other day. That like, hey, a lot of times I raise my voice and I get really passionate, and Fred, all he hears is me yelling.
Oh yeah.
But
it took me a long time to
like
realize that that's not what it was.
One, I don't think he's grasping what I'm saying. So I have to raise my voice so that he fucking understands that this is really important, that he gets it. Or he's trying to talk over me and I'm not having it because he's trying to talk and I'm clearly trying to explain something. And so my only option here is to get on higher ground. That's all that I can do. Or it's neither
By
of
that
those.
You mean volume level.
Volume, absolutely.
Not morality wise, of course.
Or like I just need to well,
sorry, continue.
yeah. But like, because I was telling, like, I don't remember what we were talking about, something about like, don't apologize because you care. Oh, don't apologize because you care about somebody and you get passionate, because sometimes that comes off wrong. Like, maybe apologize if you went about it the wrong way.
Right.
But at the end of the day, your intention was to care about somebody. And when we fear for them, like when I am scared for Kai, I yell at her.
Right.
Even if it's not her fault, even if like she is in harm's way, because that's my first initial reaction.
Right.
And then it's, oh, hey, mommy wasn't mad at you. Mommy was scared. And I get that directly from my dad.
Oh yeah.
And it took me a long time to realize that. I was always like, the fuck, why are you mad at me? Like I was the victim here.
It took me a long time to realize it too.
Yeah. But then sometimes you just have to raise your voice because.
And to be fair, you don't really yell. I don't know if.
I just get like.
Yeah,
my volume just
your
climbs.
volume climbs. Yes,
yeah.
that's
it's not like
way.
I'm like walking around screaming
no,
at you.
I don't think. Honestly, I don't think we've ever had a screaming match.
No, if you screamed at me, I wouldn't even know what to do because that's just not who you are at all.
It takes a lot for me to get to 10. It's basically I'm like a 6. That's I get up to a 6
said
and there's
just a
nothing
couple years
there.
ago. You probably have never seen me at 10, and I was like, No,
You never even see me close to anything at a time.
I don't. Yeah, probably not.
I don't, yeah, because we've never like we
Not even just me and you, but like in general,
Oh,
I've
yeah.
never witnessed like even as like someone just like staring at. I don't know. We were talking about maybe that guy at Country Fest when you
oh
had to, put him in his place years ago. And I was like, you were so mad. And you were like, oh, that was literally nothing. And I was like, yeah, I've never seen you
no, I don't think so. It takes a lot.
at a 10.
But yeah, so I've realized
You've probably seen me boil over a lot more than I've seen you, but that's just because we
I
regulate
don't
it
know.
differently.
Yeah, we do. But yeah, I was just trying to clarify that you don't scream at us
No.
or anything like that. You don't walk around scream like I don't know if we've ever screamed at each other. Not
No.
like we've our volume climbs, and then you realize, okay, this situation is getting more intense. It's probably not any escalation from this point forward is not going to help. So let's take a second, and if we need to take more than a second, let's
I
just kinda,
I am harsh with my words, not like but I'm harsh with my tone and primarily with Kyrie, and I don't mean to be, but it comes off, or like I'll be really sarcastic and I'll be very like harsh with it, and she'll go, I don't understand why you're mad at me. I'm like, I'm not mad at you at all.
you're really
Like,
good at that.
I'm questioning this thing. This thing doesn't make sense. And she's like, you sound really mad at me. And I feel really bad about that. And I do try to fix that. Because sometimes and the shitty thing is sometimes I am. And it doesn't warrant
the level of
the level
I totally understand
of
that.
frustration. Because it's not her fault that I had a long shitty day at work or whatever. But like, bro, I asked you to do this one thing. Like,
You had one job.
you had literally one job, one chore today, and it's not like she doesn't do her stuff. She does do very well, so she deserves better. So I am working on trying to deliver that a little bit less harsh.
Yeah. Well,
I don't want her to grow up, and I see it now where she like is already like on guard, like, oh, and I don't want to be the reason that she's like that.
Right. And I think sometimes it's good to have a little bit of all that, because you don't like you don't want to send your kid off to a job or whatever out in the world, and the first time somebody yells at them, even if it's inappropriate, like at like a work, like if their boss or somebody like raises their voice at them, like even if it's at an inappropriate level, sometimes it's not, because sometimes you just fuck up and you need yelled at.
Mm-hmm.
But like even if it's not at an inappropriate level, you don't want them to be like just destroyed.
Yeah.
Because like I've joked about it before. It's like first time she gets yelled at work, she'd be like, okay, like no big deal. Like,
yeah,
my parents have yelled at me harder than that. Like,
Yeah.
get out, like, but understanding that, also understanding where the person's coming from. Because we had that conversation before too, where it's, you don't not only have to think about what you're saying, your intent behind it, but to communicate well with somebody, you have to consider how they're going to feel by what you say and how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a lot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I don't think it's necessary that we should always have to cater to people's emotions and things like that. You don't want to always baby everybody, but if you're trying to communicate something, all right, consider what are you doing with your language, your tone, your body, like all those things, because that's all communication that person's receiving from you as well. So is that representing how you feel and what you're trying to get across, or is it maybe I didn't intend to be this harsh, or I didn't intend to be that snide, or I didn't intend to like put that kind of emotion behind it. I didn't mean to talk at a level 8 when it was really only supposed to be a 6, but that a little bit of extra oomph made it come across really harsh.
Yeah.
Like, didn't mean to do that. My bad. Or guess what? I did all those things and I feel really bad about it. Like, I think that's an important thing too, especially with a kid.
Yeah.
Like and I've noticed as she gotten older, as you talk about that, like, been very much, there's been multiple times where it's like, probably should have handled that better.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember who we've talked about here before too, where, that was one of the things that, like, it was it was very difficult at first, but it's becoming easier. But I think it's very beneficial is going back and saying, hey, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
I did that. I absolutely did what you feel like I did,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sorry. Like, I shouldn't have done that. I didn't mean to do that. But just because I didn't mean to do it doesn't mean I didn't do it. Like,
Yeah.
that's sorry about
And
that.
I think
and
that
I think
they can
that helps.
see, like, oh, my parents mess up and they're willing to apologize for it. And we celebrate her when she does admit that she messed up. Because for a while, it was all these excuses. Well, I only did that because of this, or I
Right.
don't think that was me. But I feel like recently she's been very good at, oh, sorry. Actually, she got really good at, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
wait.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, there
Yeah,
was
and this goes
literally,
for like friends and everybody else too.
Yeah.
Like these personal relationships you realize you're building with these people.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
Like,
whole like, no, be sorry
that
just
sorry was
because
terrible. There was
Yeah.
no,
I don't think you meant that.
yeah, there was no meat behind that at all. So I'd rather you not say you're sorry if you don't mean it. But now it was this morning. She goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. I blah 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 blah," and gave me a reason why she was supposed to be cleaning the kitchen and left like 8 things out. And I was like, "Okay, that actually makes sense. Like, you weren't sure if Daddy was done eating it. You weren't sure if I was going to do something with this. You can't put the toaster away without your stool, and that's actually down in the basement. And you started, continuing to clean everything else up. Like, I'm not even irritated because those are all very good reasons why you didn't completely finish the task that I asked you to do. And I want her to have that ability, that open space to say why she messed up, because she didn't mess up. Those were all
Right.
valid things. But dude, it's hard.
Yeah. Well, also in life in general too, it's like you can be sorry that you didn't do things, but as you move forward, like, all right, we should learn from our experiences, and then maybe next time it's, oh, I'm not putting those things away. Hey, you guys done with this?
Mm.
Yeah. And then it's okay. Now I can, like, just checking, like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because so and so might be using it, or no one told me to do that specifically, or whatever. But you can go, hey, so and so, are you done with this? Are you
Yeah.
using this still? Can I use it? Like, yeah, it's being able to, that communication of understand, like, so people understand what you're saying. And
Maybe it's not the right process, but I feel like even though I'm hard on her, or talking about the harsh words or whatever, I'm really the opposite way too. With, she gets a lot of like laughs, and she gets involved in a lot of probably inappropriate jokes at this point. And so there's a lot of like fun on the flip side too. So it's not just like she gets a lot of this emotion that's harsh. She gets a lot of this emotion that's like
raw,
funny, and like
in all
raw.
aspects.
She gets all of them. And so at the end of the day, hopefully when she's older, it's, my parents were just, or at least my mom was very open book. Like, when she was mad, when she was sad, when she was funny, like when she was laughing, like there's so many times where she's like, what is that? And I'm like, we're diving in.
Yeah.
Because she asked, and it's funny, and sometimes she gets it and thinks it's funny, and other, because I have a sense of humor that I don't know how to explain it, but I'm not easily
If I know.
I'm not easily offended. So I really like Miles.
Miles is a great time.
Miles is a great time.
Miles alone.
Miles is a great time. But I'm like not offended by things that could be easily offensive, I guess, to some people, and so we have to like fill her in on.
Yeah,
not fill her in. We allow her in on some of those.
Right. Yeah.
Some of those things,
and that's the tough part. It's like, is something offensive because it really is offensive, or is it because the person's too easily offended?
Yeah, it's a hard.
Like, I don't know. That's knowing your audience.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a hard thing to do.
It is.
Like,
Well, and then raising a child who we're sarcastic and we have like this open sense of humor. But then I find myself telling her like, hey, you can't repeat this thing because A, you're 11 and it's bad or inappropriate or it could be offensive. And like there's different levels of offensive,
Right.
but also like we tell her like you can't be easily offended, like suck it up, like you have to have a hard skin. But then it's weird because we're also telling her like you can't go around saying certain things because they offend people. It's very confusing. It's got to be so hard
Oh, I'm sure.
to be that age, but also like I don't want you going out and repeating something that you don't know what it is. So like you can't actually find it funny, but you heard somebody say it on the TV and mommy and daddy laughed our asses off. So now you're going to go repeat it because guess what? It could be awful.
Yeah.
You know, and not that we like laugh at awful things, but
Well, no, I
bro,
actually
we do.
I've actually had that, yeah, like, well, I had that conversation where like it's like a comedian. Like comedians, they're not necessarily, it's not their job to make fun of things you're not supposed to make fun of. But that's kind of what like a comedian does, is it takes a little bit of truth, it takes a little bit of pain, and it wraps it up in this story to make light of something
Mhm.
that's kind of has some real ties in life. And those are typically the at least I would say you could statistically say those are typically the funniest and most like comedians are the people that take something that's a little bit true and a little bit like inappropriate or a lot inappropriate
Mhm.
and put it into a way where you're like, oh, fuck, I shouldn't be laughing at this, but this is
But it's
hilarious.
funny.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
and that's what comedy is. Like, and then
Mhm.
even like when you look back throughout history, like a jester, you know, they're a fool, or that's what a fool came from. Like literally, that's an old definition. Like it was they were supposed to be a comedian. They put on a show. It's not real, right? It's for this purpose, and it's for this to make people laugh or whatever it might be. Now, I mean, if you make a joke that the king doesn't like, he might cut your head off. But I bet,
Choose your audience.
yeah, I bet that joke's going to be really funny in those quiet little corners where no one's going to say it too loud because that was hilarious. But the guy got his head cut off. Oops.
Oops.
Let's not say that too loud.
Well, and I think it's like, I don't know, you go to I don't know, what was it last year? Dave Chappelle was they were trying to cancel Dave Chappelle for some of his jokes. Like,
yeah. They weren't even for his jokes.
No,
It was just the subject line. It was just the subject. What joke?
He had some LGBTQ jokes.
Content. Yeah, but what was the joke? What was the offensive joke?
I don't even know.
Nobody does. That's what I'm saying.
No. I wasn't
it was the fact that
offended. I didn't find it offensive. I think trying to cancel a comedian who is offensive is ridiculous because that's literally their job. And Dave Chappelle is fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
But I remember watching his special a couple years with you, and he was diving into the LGBTQ stuff, and it was hilarious. Now, am I part of that community? No. So could it have been offensive to them? Probably. But it was still funny. Like, are jokes about basic white females offensive? No. Are a lot of them true? Yeah, but that shit's still funny.
No, it's
You know what I mean?
hilarious.
Like, it's so funny.
But it's hilarious because it could be offensive to somebody.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
That's why it's hilarious.
But like,
But if you're going to be offended by a person that's clearly intending to make a joke because that's what their actual title is. They're out there making jokes. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I think people could push it and it could get real like gross. But if the joke is funny
Yeah.
on some level, then, well, that's probably because it's a joke and it's intended to be.
And like, that's the point.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't get all upset when people talk shit about white people if it's funny.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny. Like,
We went to that, I was going to say the comedian, but it was more like a comedy show with Mary Santora.
oh yeah, they had a handful.
2
Yeah, Bill
Novembers
Squire
ago,
and
yeah.
mhm.
And that lady came on and she made like 5 diabetic jokes. And that shit was funny.
Yeah.
There wasn't even a tiny part of me who was like, this is offensive. Like,
Right,
no,
yeah.
it was funny. Like,
She was hilarious.
no,
too.
did I find it funny because I'm not fat and I'm type 1? I don't know, maybe, but that shit was still funny. Like,
Yeah.
I think it was even more funny because, like, I get it
No,
on
yeah,
a
because I
different
could really, I
level.
really understand
You
this
know
joke.
what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. And maybe that's, you open yourself up. That's like going and being front row and then being pissed off that, like,
they picked on
they
you.
picked on you. Like,
Yeah, no shit, bro.
what did you expect?
Yeah.
You know, like, that's literally their job.
That's what they're there for.
Oh my gosh, I watched one yesterday. I don't think I sent it to you. I have no idea who she was. She's a comedian, and she's like, "Have you ever?" She pointed to some guy. It was a couple rows back, and it's like dark. But she's like, "Have you ever watched yourself beat off in front of the computer screen?" And everyone starts laughing, and he lifted up his arms. He had arm braces on both. She lost it. She did not expect that at all. She starts laughing so hard.
Whoops.
Starts to talk again, starts laughing again so hard 'cause she didn't expect that. She's like, that's what happens. That's the shit that happens right there. And he was such a good sport about it, and it was just so funny. Like, who knows? He probably fell off like a building and broke both of his wrists or
maybe.
some shit. But, like, I don't know. You just open yourself up for that, and it's funny.
Yep.
There's got to be some sort of, like, it's like people who openly get roasted. Like, I love those people
Yeah.
who just accept it. Like,
There's
you're
a guy
a
that,
better person.
it's not easy, but once you're like comfortable with, like, I guess maybe it's people don't, we'll get too dive, but like if you don't do enough self like realization and analyzation to understand where your own flaws are at,
Mhm.
like, and you just get pissed off when other people point them out, like, maybe you should do some a little more, self thought and internal, like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And when you think you've arrived, you should then let everybody roast you so you can be like, oh,
Okay, yeah.
I need to work on this.
Yeah, there's
I could probably do something about this.
yeah. Well, that we were talking about the community. There's a guy that I follow that I actually saw. I think I saw him through Chris Dewin. But I think his name's Stavy Baby. He goes by Stavros Halkias. He's a stand-up comedian, and he's this dude that's got like his whole top of his head is bald, and it's like he's got this frizzy kind of like mullet growing behind it, and these giant glasses, and he's like this. He's a round fellow, so like he's down. He just really gets into the crowd and like just destroys people. And he usually goes by like what their job. He's like what like he'll call it, people will call their jobs out, whatever, and he'll just like just roast them like terribly, like, or maybe not. It's just like really funny, but it's just to be able to do that on the fly.
Yeah, that's
Like just people calling stuff out and being like, that is a skill. And
Yeah.
and like a lot of times, it's going to be kind of like, a little bit of joke, but like when he's really good at it, and like those people that are able to do that, like it takes a lot of shit talking to be able to do that, but
Yeah.
it's really fun if you
Yeah.
have the spirit for it and are willing to get made fun of. But some people, they go too far sometimes. They get upset.
Yeah. I don't know. Dave Chappelle is just hilarious. But I remember thinking, oh, he's going hard in the paint. And that was a special from a couple years ago.
Yeah, well, that's why I've always loved Louis C.K. too, because like this
Yeah.
stuff, like his comedy is. I mean, he was canceled there for a while.
To him,
'cause
weird on a personal level. He's fucking
Yeah,
weird, but
it's-
he's funny.
he's got a fetish, whatever. So
Didn't he get arrested for beating off in public?
no, he didn't get arrested. He had a handful of women. I think I'd have to. We need you fact checking this.
Yeah,
From what I gathered,
you get my face today, babe.
I
don't
know it's so pretty
Thank
on
you.
the camera. From what I have gathered, so you need to fact check me on this, everybody. What I've gathered, he would beat off in front of women in his hotel room, like, but he would, I from what I've heard, like he would ask them, but it would like they were like, oh, like thinking, oh, it's Louis C.K., like he's just joking around, but then like next thing you know, he'd like drop trowel and start going at it. And it was just like, I think he just got kind of canceled for like, I think like using his power over people in a way. Cause I think that was right after the Harvey Weinstein stuff was going on too. So I think he got unfairly lumped in. I mean, it's still kind of weird. I'm not gonna say it's not a little weird, but I think he got unfairly
Weird, yes,
labeled.
but like if he's giving people the opportunity to be there or not, like,
Yeah, I don't think he ever like held anybody against their will or anything like
Yeah,
that. I think
like-
it was just like they didn't expect that switch to be flipped so quick,
yeah.
and then it was, and they were like, "Ooh,"
Ooh.
you know. I think it was
He
something
just
like
needed
that.
to reaffirm that, like, hey, there's the door.
Yeah, I
You
don't.
can
Yeah, I
walk-
don't.
You
Like I
can
said,
walk out at because some people may really like that.
yeah. So I don't. But that was. I might be giving him a little too much grace on that. So it might be something even. But that from everything I've gathered, I think that was kind of the synopsis there. So like. All right. Was it a little weird? Maybe. Sure. But like, guess what? I know a lot of people that do a lot more weird shit than that.
Yeah. How does
So-
that saying go? Like, something like, don't something my kink. Like, don't kink shame.
Oh.
Like, what is that? Oh, I can't remember.
It's got to
It'd
rhyme
been-
with kink.
It'd have been really funny. But like, don't shame his kink if it's not hurting other people. You know, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to watch that.
I would also not.
I mean,
I'm sure.
him.
Yeah, I'm sure he. And and I'm sure he would probably be the first one to tell you that he wouldn't want to watch him do that. Like,
Oh, he for sure would make a bit about that.
Yeah,
for
he
sure.
probably did. I think he even.
For sure.
What did he? I think I think his first special back after he was canceled, he walked on stage to his background as this giant like lit where it said sorry or something like or something like ridiculous, and it was like oops, or I can't remember what it was, but it was like something ridiculous that he was like, look, like I'm just coming back and we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Like, but he makes those jokes about like parenting and himself and all these things are like, oh, I can't believe you said that. Like,
Yeah.
but it's also kind of true and hilarious.
What's his name? Bert Kreischer.
Bert Kreischer?
He's
Yeah.
hilarious, and he has a lot of parenting jokes that are like, "Oh, fuck, I'm not ready for that age." Like, he made his daughter had to go take his daughter shopping for a period pie. Or
oh
a
yeah, they
period
did a
cake or
period
something.
party.
They did a
or something
period
like that.
party.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, that's so funny. But like, that's real life, you know?
Yeah.
He's really, I don't know. I follow him on the socials. He's funny. He makes me
He's a
laugh.
wildcat. He's a wildcat. But all the things and
What time is it?
all the people that we've talked to over the years, it's been finally officially 2 years, and
Yeah, so 2 years.
2 years.
What's on the horizon, Fredley?
hopefully some fun stuff. We've got. I know I've said it, and we've been kind of slow late recently, but we have a handful of people that are kind of ready to go in a sense. We just haven't scheduled. We're hopefully looking for some big things to happen soon this winter, and I'm actually going to be on Lance Klein, who is on our show, who does the Be In podcast, in the next month or so. It was sooner, but we had to change a date.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm supposed to be going down there and talking to him, which will be interesting. He's cranking them out. I think it looks like they're planning
a
on
trip.
taking their kids for like 6 months or something like that, just traveling the world.
Yeah,
It's wild.
yeah, good for them.
Yeah. So I was like, hey, I guess do it now,
Mhm.
right? So, but he's been cranking on. He's been talking to a lot of cool people, and his show's coming along. It's pretty. It's cool to watch someone.
I talked to one of the guests that he had on the show the other day.
Oh, yeah?
Didn't realize that she was her, but I had told him that I had listened to one of his podcasts. It was all about the like Instagram business.
Oh, right.
She's like a like an Instagram specialist, I guess,
gotcha.
for like
I'm
entrepreneurs.
sure
and
there's
things
probably
like
they need
that.
those these days.
Yeah, she really, I think, focuses. I think she said on like reels. But I talked to a lady at the gym the other day who commented on my tattoo and asked me where I got it from, and she looked like vaguely familiar. And then I realized that I can't remember how I figured out the gym had like shared one of her pictures like the next day or something, and I was like, her name sounds really familiar. Was the same
That's
lady?
her.
Yeah, so that was cool.
That was cool.
Yeah.
It's a small world.
Yeah.
Small world with a lot of cool people doing
Yeah.
a lot of fun
But I wish I
things.
would have like realized who it was, and I would have said, I listened to your podcast.
Yeah.
Because that can be cool.
Yeah.
But I'll see her in there again. I probably won't talk to her, let's be honest. But if she talks to me, I will say,
you can bring it up then.
yeah. So
Cool.
Cool.
Well, thank you. And thanks for your massive help the last year and a half, over a year and a half now.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We'll keep on trucking, and hopefully people continue to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining us today. Remember, check out the website, chronic-curiosity.com, to join us at the forum, have some fun, interaction, pick you up a comfy t-shirt, or if you just want to support the show and donate, all that is on the website as well. Thank you. Until next time. See ya.